We had a perfect
How are we doing? My name is Maese, and I'm the president of SEIU Local 1107. So much for coming out today and for coming to our union, and thank you for coming to this very important gathering. We know that what we can and cannot do with our bodies is on the ballot in November. Is that right?
That's right.
Yes. And we know that we have to fight like hell to make sure that we get Joe Biden in office.
That's right.
And today, in fact, you can sign the petition before you leave to amend the Nevada State Constitution to protect our reproductive rights. And we are counting on you. Because we know that Donald Trump is an absolute threat to our families, our freedoms, and our democracy. Yes? Yes. As a Black woman and a union president, I know that you all have heard the story and the playbook, and we know that together we can make this happen. Trump is looking to divide us by race, by culture. Fortunately, we have a president who stands by our side, and that is Joe Biden. Make sure that we have what we need. He has fought for working families, he has fought for women, and he has fought for the middle class. He has been called the most pro-union president in our history. Our lives better, not his life, our lives. Yes. He stands up for union jobs, and we know that Donald Trump does not stand up for union jobs.
Nope.
President Biden does not seek to divide us. He seeks to put us together, to bring us all together to solve serious challenges that we face. And we know that we face serious challenges. We live in a moment of great uncertainty, but the question is, what will we do with that uncertainty? What will you do? This is the moment in the program where you get to tell us what we're going to do, okay? Because you're in a union house. So what are you going to do? Yes. Yes. Will we turn to Trump, who represents billionaires?
No.
Will we allow Trump another chance to strip away women's rights?
No.
Yes. Will we give Trump the opportunity to pack the court with extremists?
No.
Will we stand up for the person who has stood up for us?
Yes.
Will we stand up for Joe Biden?
Yes.
Stand up for Joe Biden.
Yes.
Stand up for Joe Biden. We dare not turn back the clock for our daughters, for ourselves, for each other, because we know that we have to do this. This is not a dress rehearsal. We just talked about this backstage. This is the real show, and we have to do this because if we don't do this, we're not going to win. And we know that when we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. Thank you so much for letting me be here, and I would like to introduce you to the National Biden-Harris Campaign Manager, the granddaughter of Cesar Chavez.
Yes.
The OC organizer. Yes.
Yeah.
Julia Chavez Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for that warm introduction and for also inviting us into the House of Labor today. Yes. Thank you, and we're so grateful for the work that you all do, organizing in our communities and so many industries day in and day out. And yes, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are the most pro-union administration we have ever had.
Yeah.
So great to be here with all of you today. As you all know, there is so much at stake in this election for women, and you'll hear from some phenomenal women leaders here in the great state of Nevada shortly. But there's so much at stake for our families, for our communities, for our future, for our health care. And as you all know, President Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have been fighting hard for the issues that women care about. And so we know, and I think today is a testament, that women are going to stand up and fight for Joe and Kamala.
Yeah.
I am so honored to be here with all of you today, and with, of course, our First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden.
Yes.
Women for Biden-Harris. Because we know that women are a key part of our winning coalition. They have been since day one. And we know that when women show up, when they vote, we win.
Yes.
We did it in 2020, and we'll do it again in 2024.
Yes.
And this coalition will also be highlighting some of the clear choices that we have this election. We know that women are a voice for really underscoring the choice that is before us at the ballot box this November. While President Biden and Vice President Harris are focused on lowering costs, including the costs of prescription drugs and groceries for our families, Donald Trump wants to raise healthcare costs and rip away healthcare coverage from tens of millions of Americans. And we're not going to let that happen.
No.
While President Biden and Vice President Harris want to restore reproductive rights and freedom for women, Trump brags about overturning Roe, has called for punishing women who get abortions, and wants to ban abortion nationwide. He's the reason why we've seen more and more states come out and come away with horrible reproductive rights legislation, including the most recent court case that we saw in Alabama, ruling on IVF and restricting IVF. Representative Susie Lee.
Great men who are here. Because let's face this election is about women maintaining our freedom and choice. It's about families maintaining their freedom and choice. We are all in this together. It's an honor to be here with the First Lady as a woman who began her career in education here in Nevada. It's great to have an educator in the White House.
That's right.
This has been a really emotional week for me. I don't know if many of you know, but both of my children are here today because of IVF.
Yes. Yep.
And when Roe v. Wade went down, thanks to Donald Trump,
Yeah.
I always thought in the back of my head that they're coming after IVF.
Yep.
And it literally took less than a year.
Yep.
It took less than a year. And more importantly, they're coming after each and every woman in this room and our control over our own healthcare decisions and our own bodies. And I look at these beautiful young women here. I look at all the young women around this room, and my message is wake the hell up.
Yep.
As we
That's
got
right.
some work to do, and that work is to make sure we re-elect Joe Biden.
Woo!
That means, when I think about when Roe v. Wade went down, and what's happened across this country, the abortion restrictions in 21 states, 25 million women in our country not being able to have the choice. And let me be clear, this is an economic decision. When women want to stand up for equal pay, for equal work, when we want to stand up and make sure that we have access to every economic opportunity that men do, then we should be able to make our choice on our own health care.
That's right.
Infertility is an illness. IVF is a treatment. Abortion is health care. We should be able to make our own decisions. It doesn't belong, thank you. It doesn't belong in the Supreme Court. It doesn't belong in the Alabama Supreme Court.
That's right.
It does not belong in state houses, and it doesn't belong in the U.S. Congress. It belongs with each and every woman across this country and their families and their doctors. And that is exactly what we are fighting for. So raise your hand if you signed the petition. I want to make sure you sign the petition. If you have not, make sure you sign the petition today. But more importantly, this is the election of our lifetime. And it's not just, obviously, for me, my freedom and my choice is on the ballot. I am one of 8 kids. 7 of them are women.
Wow.
And I will tell you, several of them have made the choice because they needed to. And they had the freedom to be able to do that.
Yes.
More importantly, when when I think about what's on the ballot, to me, it is, first of all, a president who has stood up for working families time and again. The most successful president in my history, making sure we're delivering on lowering prescription drug prices, lowering healthcare prices. By the way, getting us out of the craziness of COVID, which Trump made even worse.
Yep.
Passing bipartisan gun safety legislation. State of Nevada creating jobs with the largest investment in renewable energy and climate change. But make no mistake, the future of this country is on the line. And when you look about democracies in history that have fallen, the first group of people they go after, who is it? Women. They go after women, and that's what's happening right now. So we have so much on the line, and I know each and every one of you between now and November 5th are going to do everything in your power. Get your friends out to vote, get your family out to vote, get your neighbors, and by the way, have those tough conversations with people who want to disagree with you, because we have so much greatness to run on, and we have so much at risk in this election. Thank you. We're going to be on the trail together. Let's get it done. I'm like all pumped up. I forgot that my duty was to introduce one of the greatest fighters for women's rights in the state. Woo!
Thank you so much. Thank you. Isn't it great to be in the House of Labor? Thank you. Count on those purple shirts being out there on the front lines and everything. And how inspiring is it to look out and see a room full of smart, committed, talented, beautiful women who are ready to go in this election. And you know, those same words could be used to describe our special guest, First Lady. You know, I thank Susie, and I thank her for her courage, not just in the Congress, but for standing up and telling her own personal story. So this is not something written down somewhere. This is something that happens to real people we know, and that's what makes it so striking. We know exactly what's at stake. You know, our rights have been under attack from the MAGA right since they took over before this administration. And as someone once said, women's rights are human rights. Another famous woman poet once said, if somebody tells you who they are, believe them. And if they show you who they are, even more, you guys believe them. And brother, was that the case under the Trump administration? You know, we knew from the very beginning, right after the inauguration, how bad it was going to be. And women took to the streets, remember? Biggest marches by women ever across this country. Big cities, little towns, people were out there wearing those little self-knitted and we knew what was coming, and brother, were we right. You know, he had bragged about stacking the court. He had bragged about the way, you know, they called it locker talk, treated women. Bragged about rolling back Roe versus Wade. He told us who he was, and boy, was he right. And we can't let him get back in there. No. After that administration, that was a shock to some people, but we said, I told you so. You know, then along comes Vice President Joe Biden. And boy, was he the opposite. A long record of supporting women's issues, led the fight from policy. He had been doing a long time. He didn't just talk the talk, he walked the walk, and he had the history to prove it. You know, we listened, we heard him, we got out there. He didn't do it alone. He had a fabulous partner with him. He had someone who offered love and compassion in bad times and good. And he had somebody he could do pillow talk with about important. He had a woman by his side, an educator by her side, and what a team they made. And then he picked a woman of color to be his vice president. Woo! And then he promised he would appoint more women to the judiciary and to his cabinet than anybody in history, and he did that. As you heard, he put together an incredible coalition of voters to make that happen. And the coalition included labor, and it included minorities, and it included seniors, and it included who put them over the top? Women. Women put them over the top. You know, our aunties and our abuelitas, union women, those ladies in those hats I mentioned, women, educated women in the suburbs, co-eds on campus, women put them over the top. So when they say who put Biden over the top and who's gonna do it again? Women. Women. We did it, women did it, and we're gonna have to do it again. Because as you have heard, everything's on the line. You know, they said they were gonna stack the court, and they rolled back Roe versus Wade, and what did Trump say? Blame me, I'm proud of it, blame me. Well, we're gonna blame him. And you know, as Susie said, it's not just the abortion question, then it's IVF, and I can tell you the next thing he's coming for is birth control, so just get ready for it. And they're doing it in Congress, they're doing it in state houses, they're doing it in courts, all across this country. And so don't not believe them when they tell you what they're gonna do, because that's what's coming, and that's what it's all about. And that's why we gotta get out there, put on those hats, pick up those signs, knock those doors, make those phone calls, and drag people to the polls if you have to. Because we are gonna turn out, and who's gonna put them over the top this time? Women! Thank you so much. We have a women majority in the state legislature. Like in our congressional delegations. Here's our wonderful leaders in the Senate side, Jackie Rose.
I know there's a storm brewing outside and turn off the lights, but there's a glow in this room. You're battle-born, battleground, battle-tested, a purple state. You wore your purple welcome. Nothing will stop us at a power outage. Nothing will stop the women in Nevada from turning out, from showing up, and from taking care of what they need to. So we welcome all of you, and we are so glad that you are here. Thank you. Congresswoman Titus said, we are the first state in the U.S. to have a majority female state legislature. A majority female congressional delegation and a majority female state Supreme Court. Be the second woman ever to serve in the United States Senate from Nevada, along with my friend Catherine Cortez Masto, the first Latina. And as many of you know, her race was the closest, most competitive race to the Senate in the entire country last cycle. And what did Nevada do? What did we all do? What did you all do? We delivered. We delivered. And I know with the strength of this grassroots team, we will not only deliver the Senate majority again, but we will re-elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. What's at stake in 2024 is whether or not we continue making progress. Whether we continue making progress for hardworking families. That's what's at stake. All of this is about families. Every single bit of what they're trying to do. And are we going to allow MAGA extremists to drag us further backwards, take our families backwards? No. We are not. And we've accomplished so much under the last 3 years under a Democratic Senate majority and with strong and steady leadership in the White House. We passed the PACT Act. I see right here, veteran, right in front of me. How many veterans we have today? And we need to honor that service. So we were proud to pass the PACT Act. It's going to give health care and benefits for every veteran exposed to toxic substances or any other hazards while you're in the military, because you kept us safe and we need to keep our promise. We did that. We delivered the most significant gun safety and mental health legislation in 30 years with the bipartisan Safer Communities Law.
Yeah.
A young girl from Bob Miller Junior High in Washington last week. You know what she asked us? How do I stay safe in school? I'm afraid. She's 12. We passed the Safer Communities. We put in health and mental health. We need to do more.
Yes.
Now, I know a lot of you drove here, got a lot of cone zones. That's great. Passed the bipartisan infrastructure law to finally rebuild Nevada's infrastructure and create thousands of good paying Hall, you know the power of the unions. I don't have to tell any of you. We took on the drug companies. We capped the cost of insulin for seniors at Medicare for $35 a month. And finally, we give Medicare the chance, the opportunity to negotiate for lower prescription. The ones that take care of us, we need to take care of them. We did a little bit more. President nominated well, she wasn't Justice then, she's Justice now, Ketanji Brown Jackson. We confirmed her.
Yes.
Now, you've heard from everyone else, you're gonna hear a little bit more, especially from our fabulous First Lady, but let's be clear. We've got some big challenges ahead of us. I know you're all up to the fight. And I know you all know the stakes couldn't be higher. Because as everybody said, look what's happening in Alabama right now. Families have been forced to stop their IVF treatment, and Republican-controlled state Supreme Court has halted fertility clinics in the states. This is a blow to everyone. This is a family issue. This isn't just a woman's issue. This is a family issue. I want to say it's a people who want to be grandparents issue. You don't want to see your kids struggle. You want to see them build their own families. This is an everybody issue. And how about what's happening in Texas, where Kate Cox was forced to flee her home to receive life-saving reproductive care? This is the future the anti-abortion Republicans have worked towards. But this is not the future Americans want. So, this past week, what have Republicans been doing? They've been scrambling to hide their extreme records by claiming to support IVF all of a sudden. Even while they blocked the legislation in the Senate to protect IVF in every state. They had the opportunity and they blocked it. It's kind of a pattern, isn't it? Senate Republicans proudly voted for dozens of anti-abortion judges, including 3 Supreme Court justices, and then they pretend it was out of their hands when Roe v. Wade was struck down. Senate Republicans campaigned for decades against reproductive rights, and now they're pretending that they aren't going to implement a nationwide abortion ban. But we know they are. We know they are. And they say they support exceptions for rape and incest. They don't want to try to intimidate doctors or prosecute doctors when they provide care. We know they don't mean that either. And on a personal issue, when it is such a personal issue, when deciding to start a family, we can't trust Republican make-believe. We have to look at their records. We have to look at what they actually done. We have to look at what they're doing in city after city, county after county, state after state, and on the floor of the United States House of Representatives, and on the floor of the United States Senate. as everyone says every day, believe them when they show you who they are.
Yeah.
Believe them. They are telling you. And the reality is we're only in this position because extremists like Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell and Sam Brown were successful in overturning Roe v. Wade, reversing 50 years of legal precedent. My daughter, all of our daughters here, have less rights than we had. And it paved the way for dangerous action. So here's my message to Republicans trying to cover up their extreme records here in Nevada, or frankly, any place else. I'm going to ask you to repeat after me. We won't let you. What's our message to Republicans?
We won't let you.
We won't let you. Now, it's going to take all of us working together to fight back against the extremists, MAGA extremists, who want to take all of this away, want to reverse all of it. We can't let them take control of the White House from President Biden. And that starts right here in Nevada. Like I said, we are battleground, battle-born, battle-tested, the purple state, and we are the #1 place where Joe Biden, Kamala Harris need to win. And what happens here will determine the outcome of the 2024 election. 4 years ago, I'm going to give you all a round of applause. You all helped us elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and deliver an administration.
Woo!
For our unions, it's on the line for our women that's worried about our seniors and our veterans, worried about our climate, has empathy and compassion for people, real people going through real everyday struggles, has kindness and caring in what they do. And 2 years ago, you helped elect my friend, my colleague in the Senate, to deliver that pro-choice majority in the United States Senate. With all of your help, and I know you will be there, Nevada will do what? We will deliver. We will deliver.
Woo!
Laura, Cindy.
A week ago, I barely had a voice, and now it's a little bit better, but I might have to pause a little bit. Good afternoon. My name is Cindy Flores, and while I've always wanted to be a woman with an awesome career, I've always wanted to be a mother as well. After my husband Sean and I got married in 2021, we immediately wanted to start our family. But after more than a year of trying, turning 35, and learning to manage symptoms of a reproductive medical condition impacting my health, my OBGYN suggested we explore options in fertility assistance. No one grows up thinking they will need help to start a family. I definitely didn't. I definitely didn't think I would be one of the millions of women who struggle with infertility. Yet here I am, after years of losing hope and way too many tears. My husband and I are lucky enough to have the opportunity to add to our family through IVF. Oh, thank you. While attending one of my many ultrasound appointments last week, news broke that women like me in Alabama just had their dreams crushed. Some were preparing for the second step of IVF, transferring an embryo, when suddenly clinics put a hold on IVF treatments after an outrageous ruling by the Alabama Supreme Court. After all the medications and shots, after dreaming of holding their baby for so long, these families have no idea what is next. My heart breaks for them because I know that feeling. What we see in Alabama is a direct result of Donald Trump appointing 3 Supreme Court justices who would go on to vote to overturn Roe v. Wade, something which he is so proud of. Alabama may be the first state where extremists rip away access to IVF, but we can't expect it to be the last. Nevadans have made it clear for many, many years. We trust women to make these decisions, but we cannot ignore what lies ahead. Our reproductive freedoms are on the ballot. The choice is very clear this November. Donald Trump supports a national abortion ban, which would rip away our rights in Nevada. President Biden and the Biden-Harris administration have fought to protect abortion access, calling on Congress to restore the protections of Roe and making it clear they'll veto any bans on reproductive care. From defending FDA approval of medicated abortions to strengthening access to contraception, it is very clear that President Biden and Vice President Harris understand that this is more than just abortion. It's about our freedoms. I have chosen to share my journey to motherhood because so much is at stake this November, including the very process that will make it possible for me to become a mother. This is why I am proudly voting for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris this fall. And it's why I'm here today. This event, this community, Nevada women.
Yeah.
We are so important. We know that we can make the difference here in November. So please join me in giving a big Nevada Women for Biden-Harris welcome to the First Lady of the United States, Dr. Jill Biden.
See, let there be light. So thank you, Cindy, for that kind introduction, and it's women like you who Joe and Kamala are fighting every day in the White House. And I'm grateful for the SEIU Local 1107 and President Maese for hosting us. Senator Rosen, Representative Lee, to have strong partners like you in Congress. Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno, thank you for leading our party here in Nevada. Today we have several other state and local officials also with us, including many members of Nevada's majority female state legislature. The first in the country to elect a legislature that was majority women back in 2018. Yeah. Because of so many people here in this room. And I want to recognize our incredible campaign manager who is here today. Where are you? Joe and I are so grateful for your leadership. So it's no accident that Nevada is one of the places we've chosen to launch Women for Biden this weekend. Because 4 years ago, Nevada, you put us in the White House. Joe and I will never forget how hard you worked or how much you gave. And we are so grateful. Thank you so much to all of you for being here today, wind and all. So when I was growing up in a suburb of Philadelphia, anybody here from Philly?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
All right.
So when I dreamed of what my life would become, I knew that I wanted two things. A marriage like my parents that was strong and loving and full of laughter, and I wanted a career. Yeah. So I set out to find those two things, but my path was a bit meandering. It was the 70s. Anybody remember the 70s? It was Vietnam, love beads, equal rights. I wore my hair down to the middle of my waist, and so did most of the men I dated. So one day I was asked out on a date just out of the blue. And that evening, a handsome young senator showed up at my door. Well, remember, I said it was the 70s. Remember bell bottoms, tie-dye, he had blondes. Okay. So I opened the door, and I took one look at his perfect suit and his leather loafers, and I thought, thank God it's only one date. One date eventually turned into a marriage proposal. And okay, if I'm being honest, it was 5 proposals because this was not part of my plan. And more than that, it wasn't just my heart that was on the line. As many of you may know, years before, Joe's wife Nelia and baby daughter were killed in a car accident. And the boys, Bo and Hunter, had to be in the hospital for many months. And after all that they had lost, I knew that if I said yes to Joe's marriage proposal, it had to be forever. So then eventually I realized that my love for Joe and the boys outweighed any fears I had, and I said yes. And here we are, 48 years later. I'll never forget what Joe said next. He said, "Jill, I promise you, your life will never change." That turned out to be wildly untrue. Life is change for all of us. We learn and we grow. We overcome heartbreaks we never could have imagined. We find wisdom and grit and empathy. But in the last few years, we've seen a different kind of change. A rupture in the foundations of our democracy. A pullback of the hard-won progress that we've made. We are the first generation in half a century to give our daughters a country with fewer rights than we had. And I think somebody mentioned that. So what do we have now? We have book bans, voting laws gutted, court decisions that strip away our most basic freedoms. But circumstance is not destiny. 4 years ago, Republicans targeted Nevada. You know that. They poured resources in and sent surrogates. They thought that they could turn Nevada red. But you proved them wrong.
Yeah.
Talk to your friends and your neighbors. You called strangers and reminded them to vote. You put on masks during the pandemic and hopped on Zooms. You raised money and you changed minds. You gave everything you had to make Joe and Kamala president and vice president. Before, women put Joe Biden in the White House, and women are going to do it again. Yes. We know what's at stake. I've been so proud of how Joe has placed women at the center of his agenda, starting with his historic pick for Vice President Kamala Harris. President Biden is defending reproductive rights, fighting for a national law that would restore Roe's protections. And yes, that means IVF and access to contraception. And he's accomplished so much more, making childcare affordable, expanding access to maternal health services, and like someone said, appointing Ketanji Brown Jackson and passing historic gun safety. My husband is the author of the Violence Against Women Act. I saw him write that bill by hand on our back porch on reams of yellow legal paper. And Joe has spent his entire career lifting up women. But Donald Trump, he spent a lifetime tearing us down and devaluing our existence.
Yes.
He mocks women's bodies, disrespects our accomplishments, and brags about assault. And now he's bragging about killing Roe v. Wade. Just the other day, he took credit again for enabling states to pass cruel abortion bans that are taking away the right of women to make their own health care decisions. How far will he go? When will he stop? You know the answer. He won't. He said it himself Thursday night in his own words. He's considering a national abortion ban. Donald Trump is dangerous to women and to our families. We simply cannot let him win. We can't wait until to wake up the day after the election like we did in 2016. Do you remember that? Think back. Terrified of the future ahead of us. Remember waking up and thinking to yourself, oh my God, what just happened? What are we going to do now? We must re-elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Well, look around you. Look around you. Women for Biden Harris. That's how we're going to do it. We're going to do what we did in 2020 and in 2022. Talk to our friends about why this election is so important. Tell them what's at stake. Sign up for phone banks and canvassing shifts. We're going to meet this moment as if our rights are at risk, because they are. As if our democracy is on the line, because it is. We will decide our future. Because here's the thing about men like Donald Trump. They underestimate our power because they don't understand it. They see how we lead through collaboration by empowering others, and they see it as weakness. But we know that our community is our strength. They see our empathy and our compassion as a vulnerability. But we know that what they give us is clarity to fight for what's right. They think that our love for our children makes us soft. But we know that those are the lives that light a fire in our hearts, that make us fierce and unafraid. They see us working late shifts and making grocery lists, driving to soccer practices and volunteering, you all know this, caring for our parents and raising money for those in need. And they think we can be ignored. They don't know that our to-do lists are our battle maps. And when our bodies are on the line, and when our daughters' futures are at stake, when our country and its freedoms hang in the balance, we are immovable and unstoppable. Yeah. And it's time we show them once again just what we can do by signing up to make sure reproductive rights are on the ballot in Nevada. Every day from now until the polls close. By re-electing Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. By deciding the future we want, the future we need. And then, when we do, nothing and no one can stand in our way. Thank you, Nevada.